Villains and heroes. What is a hero and what is a villain? Well, if English is your native language, I don't have much to explain. But in case English is not your native language, let me keep it briefly. A hero is an individual who achieves some type of success that benefits the community. Often it's success in overcoming an evildoer or some evil in the community. That is a hero. A hero is someone you look up to, due to their good character and the achievement they produced by their good character. So a hero isn't just about the achievement, it's about the character. It's about your loving, kind, and righteous attitude. A villain is someone that's looked down upon due to the evil or dysfunction they contribute to the community. What makes a villain isn't because they're just dysfunctional, it is because they don't want to be better. They make excuses for their dysfunction, and now they expect others just put up with the pollution that their dysfunction produces. For example, someone can be an alcoholic, and from time to time they drive drunk or they scream on the street drunk. Anyone in the right mind would say, you know what? Why am I drinking so much alcohol? Why am I going on the street, put myself and others in danger on the road? Or why am I screaming on the streets? I don't want to be like this. I want to be better. If someone wants to be better, we praise that because someone is looking for help and we're gladly to provide help through therapy or whatever. But if someone does even want to admit that they're dysfunctional, that means that they're perfectly fine with being that dysfunctional and they're perfectly fine with the pollution they cause not only to themselves, also to others. Those are the type of people we often have issues with, and rightfully so. Now, I don't approve developing aversion, so dislike and hate towards other people, because that's negativity. But it is understandable that you have issues with such people. So, a villain is someone who's a bad individual because they don't want to face themselves nor become better. They just expect others just deal with what they do. Now, when you look at superhero franchises, for example, you have the Marvel franchise, you have the Disney franchise, you have various other superhero franchises. Let's take, for example, the Batman, the comic book series, or the movies of the Batman category. What is Batman? Batman, for those who know the comic books and the movies, is a billionaire called Bruce Wayne who lost his parents at a young age due to crime. He was traumatized by it, but hey, he was a billionaire because his father was a billionaire. He is a billionaire son. He inherited the fortune, and now he's using a portion of his fortune to fight crime, disguised as this bat monster, Batman. And he catches bad guys from time to time. Batman is just a persona he enacts. In real life, he's Bruce Wayne. Now, in the Batman um, mythology, you have this villain called the Joker. Now, who's the Joker? The Joker is a guy who had a dysfunctional childhood, and as an adult, though to his dysfunctional childhood, he had issues in functioning. So, was it his fault he ended up dysfunctional? No. But here's the thing, when he was looking for help to become better, he didn't receive any help from anyone. Nobody cared. And eventually, he lost it. He gave up on wanting to please society and be a good person to other people. Now, when you look at the Joker and you look at Batman, they both had a dysfunctional childhood. Bruce Wayne grew up in a billionaire's family where he was shielded from the evil that existed in the world. Now, every parent or every community should shield the children. However, it's something completely different to pretend like evil does not exist on the earth. That's dysfunctional. So Bruce Wayne grew up dysfunctional, and yet this trauma of him witnessing his parents being murdered in front of him. So that messed him up. Now you have the Joker. He grew up in what we can say a ghetto. His parents were not together, and as a grown man, because he grew up in poverty, in daily life, he was often looked down upon, and despite being of European ethnicity, he was still mistreated. That shows you that even if you are in a racist society, belonging to the quote unquote right race is not sufficient. If you don't meet the expectations of others, others are likely to look down on you. Simply said, that's how the world works. Now, both the Joker and Batman or Bruce Wayne were dysfunctional, but there's a big difference. The Joker faced his dysfunction and he wanted to be better. But the Joker also admitted that when he wanted to be better, it were the people around him that hindered him. The Joker realized that the people had an investment in him being dysfunctional. Why? By him being dysfunctional, other people could look down on him and feel bad about themselves. So those other people now bailed themselves out from the responsibility of facing themselves and becoming better human beings. Why? Because they compare themselves to the Joker and say, hey, I'm not as bad as that guy. So the Joker is realistic because he realized what was going on. And he realized that, hold on a minute, this thing called society is a narcissist. Why would I participate in this? Bruce Wayne did not want to face the reality. First of all, his father was not such a good guy as he thought his father was. He didn't want to face that. He didn't want to face that his family was part of the dysfunction of the world with their capitalistic exploitation. Bruce Wayne also did not want to face himself and realized that he developed narcissistic tendencies of always wanting to avoid issues in life. So, Bruce Wayne is, as you would say, a narcissist. He does want to face himself, he does want to do the inner work, but he wants to get the credit of being such a good guy. He wants to leech off of the good reputation of his father, but the good reputation of his father, who was killed, isn't is just something that exists between his ears. Because everyone outside knows that his father was crooked, but he doesn't want to face this, so his denial turned him into a reprobate because he refuses to face the truth. But now, Bruce Wayne, despite being reprobate, he still wants to have ease in daily life. And that's why he wants to portray this image of the son of a hardworking man. And even though he can't come out in the open and do this, that's why he created the Batman character so that he can use that. What Bruce Wayne is doing is he, as the Batman, brings relief to the community. And here's the thing, Bruce Wayne seriously thinks that people love this Batman character. So that motivates him to continue. But the truth is, the public doesn't care. The public just they don't want to deal with their own collective dysfunction. So when the Batman appears and escalates on the evildoers, or then they praise the Batman. But hold on a minute. How come those evildoers even had the chance or the opportunity to do what they were doing? So there's neglect on the part of the community. But there's the thing, people don't want to hear this. They just want to be left alone. They just also want to do the dirty job. And Bruce Wayne, as the Batman, does the dirty job. And then you have the Joker. The Joker, he acts psychopathic in the sense that he kills people and all of that. But look at who he's killing. He's killing the grown folks who are invested in the darkness in the city. The corrupt police officers who let child molesters go, the people in media who cover things up, the politicians who are invested in exploiting the public. The Joker also also deals with evil, but the Joker admits what the evil is and he deals with the root of it. The Joker takes out people that persist in evil and therefore keep harm going. The Joker never goes after helpless children or people who can't help themselves. He goes after the investors in the evil in the city. The Batman only goes after people who go too far in public. So when you look at it, who is really the villain and who's the hero over here? Now, I call it the Batman mythology because in the myth, it's Batman or Bruce Wayne as Batman that's the hero, the one you ought to look up to. However, when you examine the mythology or the myth much better, you realize that actually it's the Joker who is the hero because he faces things and he deals with things from the root. Now, the way he deals with it may not be proper, absolutely, but at least he's realistic. And often it's the Joker that reminds Batman about the fact that the public is just using him, that the public doesn't even love him. So when you look at it, the Joker even reached out to Batman and alerts Batman about the truth. But the Batman, or better said Bruce Wayne, doesn't want the truth. Bruce Wayne's into this delusion that he's this covert hero and the people love him. So actually, the Batman is the villain because his delusion keeps the evil going. The relief he brings incidentally does not do anything. Batman only fights the symptoms. The Joker deals with the investors. So who achieves more? The Joker. Who's realistic? The Joker. And that's why often you hear people say that as a child they loved Batman, but as an adult they realize that the Joker makes more sense. Now, I just used the Batman myth to illustrate how the masses credit you the title of hero and how they credit you the title of villain. Look, whether you're actually the villain or you're actually the hero does not matter to the masses. To the masses, you are their hero when you build them out from the consequences of their own crimes or the consequences of their own dysfunction. Dysfunction that wouldn't even exist anymore if you would have faced it and looked for solutions. And the solution is Christ. Because we were created and designed by the Heavenly Father to serve Him. It's only in doing the will of the Heavenly Father that there will be long-term health, wealth, sanity, well-being for the human species. So, those that refuse to do the will of the Heavenly Father, they are the ones keeping the danger on the earth. But A, the public doesn't want to face that they are the ones responsible for keeping the dysfunction and the danger on the earth. They want to see themselves as good, but they don't want to actually be the good they want to be praised as. So the masses are narcissistic. And as narcissists, I'm not saying everyone of the masses are narcissists, but the masses as a whole, as a collective, is a narcissist. And just like individual narcissists, the masses do not want to look in the mirror. They don't want to face themselves nor do the inner work. So they need someone to blame. So here's how it goes. When you point out the dysfunction and you call the public to an account, you become the villain. When you do the dirty job by facing the dangerous symptoms that are brought forth by the masses, then the mass or the public, they will love you. But this love is superficial. It's not actual loyalty towards you. They're just happy there's someone to make them at ease. So understand the following. When you survive either a difficult childhood or when you survive long-term victimization as an adult, and when you survive long-term violence, and there's no way long-term violence can take place unless the public is in on it. Either they're in on it because they are actually agreeing with the perpetrators against the victims, or the public knows something's off, but they don't want to look into it, but they just want to look away. They don't want to deal with it. There is no such thing as long-term violence happening on the earth, and the public around the victim and perpetrators are not aware of it. So it goes like this. When you survive long-term violence or long-term tragedy, there is no way for you to look at the people around you the same way. Because you are going to see clearly that people allowed bad things to happen to you. And you're also going to see the narcissism of the masses, namely that the masses want to be praised as good and want the rewards of being quote unquote left alone and left in peace, but they don't want to be peaceful nor good themselves. So you will see that it's the people that keep the danger and the violence on the earth. You're going to see also that the people are not interested in face themselves nor complying with solutions. So the moment you survive long-term tragedy and you point all of this out, you are proof that something is terribly wrong with the masses. But here's the thing, the masses don't want any of it. So what will they do? They will blame you for what happened to you, or they will say, well, what happened to you happened when you were a child, you are grown up now, you don't take responsibility for your life. They'll try any type of accusation or they'll do any type of smear campaign on you just to shut you up, or they will try to discredit you by pointing out the, the mental dysfunction that you have. Because when you go through long-term tragedy or when you survive long-term violence, it harms you mentally. Maybe it harms you physically, but the physical damage, as often people can see it, but the mental damage often something people don't see immediately. But in your behavior, people realize that you are dysfunctional. So what happens is when you survive long-term tragedy or when you survive long-term violence, you are often blind to your own dysfunction. Well, not always, but sometimes you are. And people often use that against you to discredit you. Why? They seek to discredit you because they don't want what you have to say to be heard. Because what you have to say is the truth. And the truth will scatter their illusions and it will scatter their, it will not scatter, it will destroy their ease. And once their ease is destroyed, they have to deal with things around them also. For example, let's say a man and his wife were abusing their children, escalating on them, and nobody in the community did something about it. Later, that man, at age 40, he suffers PTSD and he ends up committing suicide, leaving behind his wife and two daughters. Now, of course, when a 40-year-old man commits suicide, the people around are shocked, thinking, what happened? Why couldn't he talk about his problems? Oh, but here it is. Since he was growing up and he went through the abuse at the hands of his parents, his own relatives, family, so-called friends, and people in the neighborhoods, even the police and the authorities, they allowed it to happen. He knew from a young age people don't care about you. They just care about their own relief. So as a grown man, he realized that, okay, he can't discuss things. When he went to therapists to talk about it, he told the therapist that the community abused him, and the therapist would say, no, that's not true, you internalize anything. So even of the therapist didn't actually help with his recovery. And at some point, he realized even his wife that was married to, that he was loyal to, was that loyal towards him. She just wanted to have an easy existence. So at some point, it became too much for him and he took his own life. The humiliation, the embarrassment catch up with him. Now, this man was obviously mentally disturbed. He obviously needed help and he reached out for help. Who filled him? The community did. The community filmed him when he was a little boy growing up, and they filmed him as a grown man. Now, when the man commits suicide, people are shocked and they wanna uh, they don't want it to escalate further. So they offer psychological help to the daughters, the family of the wife come together, the family of the husband also offer condolences. But here's the thing: you're not allowed to investigate the issue further. People say have some respect for the family who just lost a loved one to suicide. Don't ask questions, mind your own business. Why are they doing this? Because here's the thing: if you would look into the case of that man, you realize, hold on a minute, this man has been brutalized by the community. And then you find out that, hold on a minute, if this man could have been brutalized this way by the community, how many more people are brutalized that way? This man ended up taking his own life because he couldn't take it anymore. Others end up exploding on the community. They become violent criminals, whatever. And then you come to realize, hold on a minute, how prevalent is this neglect in the community? And then you will look around and realize, oh my God, people are neglectful by default. Now, there are people who are responsible, but in general, people are neglectful. Or else the world wouldn't have been the way it is. And then you find out that, let's say, your parents knew this, but you find out, hold on a minute, this guy that ended up committing suicide at age 40, my parents knew him because he grew up when my parents went to the same school. And my parents, if back then, knew this man had a hard time. But then you figure out that your parents either didn't do anything about it by reaching out, or your parents kept talking behind his back and contributed to his hard times. So now you look at your own parents and think, whoa, I thought these two beings, my mom and dad, were honorable people. Oh my God, now you need to process what type of monsters your parents are. That your parents are enablers of evil. Now you have to look at your grandparents too. So the thing is, when someone survives long-term tragedy or long-term violence, they become proof that society is a hoax. They become proof of the fallen state of mankind. They also become proof of the narcissism of the crowd. And people in general don't want to face this. So when you survive long-term trauma or long-term violence, don't think it's strange when the public labels you a villain. People will often ignore you. They will ostracize you. They will not invite you on birthday parties. They will conduct smear campaigns about you. They will put you on a secret blacklist so you won't be able to get a job. Why are they doing all these things? Because your survival is bad news to the public. Your survival will force them to face themselves as a community. They don't want this. So they actually want to get rid of you. But they can't openly tell you this because, hey, if they openly tell you they want to get rid of you, then they need to give a reason why. And they have no good reason why. So indirectly, they will make life hard on you by gang stalking you or by sabotaging all your efforts in the hope that you will kill yourself, or in the hope that someone else will do the dirty job by taking you out. Or they will hope to make it so hard on you that you end up dying homeless on the streets. Or they hope that you get addicted to drugs and you die of an overdose or whatever. They are trying to kill you indirectly just so that you are not around as proof against them. That is what goes on. That's why in the world you have this default attitude that they blame the victim. Why? Because when you blame the victim, when you turn the victim into a villain, now you don't have to look at the perpetrators, and because you don't have to look at the perpetrators, you don't have to face the fact that the perpetrators were enabled by the masses. And because you don't have to face that the perpetrators were enabled by the masses, now you don't have to realize that, hold on a minute, there are many enablers around. Now you don't have to look in the mirror and realize, I have some enabler attitudes myself, or I have some narcissistic attitudes myself. It's all about avoiding the inner work, both as an individual and as a group. Worldlings are narcissistic. I'm not saying every worldling is a narcissist. No, they're not. But worldlings are narcissistic. They do not want to do the inner work, neither as an individual nor as a group. It's quite painful, it's quite embarrassing, and it can be quite distressing to do this. And what will you do when people won't comply? What will you do then? People want to maintain the illusion of civility. They want to be left alone and not having to deal with any challenge nor difficulty in life. That is the masses. And a lot of people don't even have the capacity to deal with anything just because they've only been fleeing their whole lives. So, when you survive long term victimization, or when you suffer neglect from the community, don't expect the community to openly admit to you, we were wrong, sorry for allowing that to happen to you, sorry for not intervening, we'll be better. Don't expect that. Expect people to make you the villain. So, now you understand why the gospel is so offensive to the world. Because the gospel exposes the narcissism of fallen mankind. The gospel also reveals that the Heavenly Father, in the form of Christ Jesus, not only faced the darkness of the masses, but he also overcame it. So, the gospel is showing that evil will destroy itself. So, people that participate or in evil or that become evil, those will destroy themselves. And here's the thing: the gospel reveals that victims have hope in Christ, who became the chief victim of mankind's violence. So the chief victim, God Himself, will always be around as proof against the masses. He will always be around to confront the masses, and everyone will be resurrected by Him and has to face Him. So what does it say to the world? They can't continue to escape and escalate anymore. That means that they can't use scapegoats anymore to relieve themselves, because God sees everything and God will comfort them. But God offers a way out if they submit and comply with justice. Oh, and here's the thing: the masses are not into justice, just want an excuse to escape and escalate. That's why the masses are perfectly fine with things like astrology. Think about it. You're born in March, or you're born in August, or whatever month you're born in, and based on the teachings of astrology, you have a certain defect. People say, oh, he's born in that month, so he must be a Virgo. And because he's a Virgo, he has this character flaw. What? Imagine you're born in that time of the year, but you don't have this defect. People still treat you like that. Why? Because if people can blame character defects on the month you were born in, that means you don't have to take responsibility for it. And here's the thing: if you are born in a certain time of the year in which you are labeled as predestined to be a loser, that means people can easily mistreat you and feel good about it, because they will say, but you're destined to be a failure anyway. So the masses don't have to face themselves, nor on an individual, not on an individual level, nor on a collective level. That is what it's about. That's why the world is tolerant and sometimes even a participant, or they praise even pagan gods. They will even put up with violent mythologies in which pedophilia and sexual violence are common. For example, Greek mythology. Many of those Greek gods are rapists as well as pedophiles. Why do people put up with Greek mythology? Because they can look down on those characters and feel good about themselves. But when it comes to Christ, who not only exposed the darkness of the crowd, but also was victimized and overcame the victimization of the crowd, that's bad news to them. It should be good news because the gospel is good news, but because they insist on escaping and escalating, the truth becomes bad news to them, even though the truth isn't bad news at all. Because they don't love the truth, they don't love reality. So understand this: a big portion of our species insist in damnation because they don't want to comply with redemption. Christ even warned us about this. People prefer the darkness over the light because their works are evil, because people are defective, they don't want to face this, they want to keep escaping and escalating. That's why they don't want the light, because the light makes them uncomfortable. That's why the masses will put up with thousands of reprobate criminals, child molesters, or whatever. They'll rather put up with those than put up with one believer walking in the resurrection power of Christ. So understand that this world, or you can say society, does not want real heroes. The world hates real heroes. The world only wants polite victims that do the dirty job for them, or they want polite victims that are the doormat so that they can be at ease. Those are the type of people they label heroes in the world. People who actually want improvement and they actually want change for the better, they are often labeled a busybody, or they're labeled um, a know-it-all, or a holier-than-thou figure, or the people are accused of saying, who does he think he is, or who does she think she is? The world will vilify you when you want real long-term solutions. It's sad, but that's the truth. So, do not expect genuine sympathy from the world if you survived violence or tragedy or neglect. Do not expect it. Now, some people will have genuine sympathy for you and want to reach out to you. Those do exist. But even then, if those people don't serve Christ, they're hijacked by the world. So they can be used by the world to sabotage you, even though they themselves are not saboteurs. So you should also be watchful who you receive help from. Because the people that want to help you may not be bad people. But if they are dysfunctional themselves, they can be used by the world against you. Or Satan can use them. Look, that's why we need to rely on the Heavenly Father and His guidance. Absolutely. That's why do not love the world. Do not love society. You're in the world, you're in society, but you're not of it. Do not love the world. Because the world it's a narcissistic construct. The world, or you can say society, is a narcissist. And you can't agree with a narcissist and be better off. It will never happen. So, if you've been vilified just for wanting real solutions or just because you wanted healing, now you know why. Don't blame yourself. Take responsibility for your situation. So agree that you want to be better and trust Christ to lead the way. Don't force your healing. Just keep moving forward in full confidence in the Heavenly Father. Well, that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ and be at peace.